We could use this against DeVoe.
That's brilliant. I'm totally on board, except mental activity dampener.
Ramon, the name's no good, which is why, drum roll, please, I've decided to rename this the Cerebral Inhibitor.
This is where we came up with the Cerebral Inhibitor to use against DeVoe.
Who?
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash episode 14 video. We got a bunch of explainers, especially for last season in that Savitar Cerebral Inhibitor teaser. Turns out he was telling us what was going on without telling us the whole story, which sounds like a very Savitar thing to do. Like, I'm just going to conveniently leave out the part where they get their asses handed to them. So if you're finding me for the first time, there is a new round of that Flash ring giveaway. All you have to do to enter, just be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. So top 10 WTF comic book Easter eggs, starting with number 10. Barry has to leave Central City Police Department, not because anybody hates him, but just because of this confluence of public perception. The new mayor is trying to crack down, so I think it's mostly a plot device to get to that private detective business stuff at the end of the episode. The way Elongated Man explained it made it sound like it was more of a temporary solution, so I don't know that he would ever completely leave Central City Police Department, but I think they want to try this out, and if it works well from a story perspective and Elongated Man sticks around next season, then they'll just continue on as private detectives. But we'll always have Central City Police Department connections because you have Cecile and Joe that are there all the time, you have Captain Singh. So this is actually kind of a good thing, because if he were still there, he'd actually have to do regular casework while he's trying to take down the Thinker. So now it's just 100% on the Thinker. But they do a lot of explaining in this episode, explaining how technology works, like with Cecile and Harrison Wells about the Cerebral Inhibitor, but also about the metas that are left, as well as what's happening to the Thinker's body. So number 9, Thinker's body is degenerating at an exponentially increasing rate the more meta powers that she absorbs, which is why there were probably a couple lines of dialogue that made you prick your ears up when Caitlin was talking about how fast Barry and Elongated Man shrugged off those sonic abilities when the Fiddler blasted them. Like, oh, it's a really good thing that you have your powers because you're healing super fast, while the Thinker's body is literally eating itself alive. So I think that's just a teaser for her eventually needing a body that can regenerate really fast, which is both Elongated Man and Barry. But obviously we have the big running theory that Elongated Man's body is going to be used to recreate the original version of the Thinker, because Neil Salins is a fantastic actor and Kevin Smith was posting pictures of him on set with this crazy long beard, so maybe they were just using his voice, but he was on set for something. It sounds like we'll eventually see another version of him, like when we saw Elongated Man mimic his body. And I love the way that they followed up on that plotline too. Captain Singh is like, oh yeah, he's been coming in, cooperating with us, but nobody believes that it's really him because Central City is so lousy with metahumans and so much crazy stuff has happened. Also really happy that they addressed that too. You have a city where you have all this craziness happening. You'd think that people would wise up to it eventually, like, oh, you know what, that person, he might be psychic. Maybe I'm being mind controlled to do all these terrible things. Or maybe that bank robber has some special powers and that's how they get all that money. But number 8, the Flash does their version of the Fiddler. They explain it's a she, not a he, and they even use that country music song. I think they wanted to use a popular song that people recognize. But they sort of wink at the comic book origin of the character and eventually give her the fiddle. But it's really the Thinker that gives her that Fiddler name. And I'm totally fine with them changing the character. The version from the comics was an old man. He fiddled people, mostly mind control. The way they explain her power, pretty much like Black Siren, Black Canary, just sonic blast. Maybe she could do something cooler with it later on, because the Thinker is pretty sophisticated with the way she uses all those abilities in conjunction with each other. Love that they named the bar the Broken Saddle, because they both get busted asses by the end of their first encounter with her. And Cisco drops that Transformers reference. Too bad Soundwave is already taken by a Transformer.
As you command, Megatron.
Number 7, Cecile and Harrison Wells come up with a plan to make the Cerebral Inhibitor, although they don't know that's what it is at the beginning, and she walks in with that device that looks like it's right out of Back to the Future on her head. The sort of backup to Cecile's storyline, like they tried to weave in a couple different things. So one, it was important because of the Cerebral Inhibitor, but the other part was because of the Jesse Quick stuff, and then they also used her to explain a lot of stuff. Like, explain to me, how does this Cerebral Inhibitor work? Oh, well, it blocks incoming thoughts. What if you could reverse the polarity? So because Joe was not in the episode, Cecile got to be the explainer character. Like there's always one character on The Flash that's like doesn't understand what the science people are talking about. Please explain it to me like I'm stupid. So if you ever wonder why they always do stuff like that, that's mostly the network asking the writers to explain really complex concepts for audience members that either don't read the comics or aren't following along. But the funny thing behind the scenes is that the actress that plays Cecile posted a picture of this and people were like, holy shit, it's the cerebral inhibitor. How's it gonna work? It turns out, number 6, they can use it specifically to stop DeVoe from jumping into different bodies, although it didn't go exactly the way they had planned it. But the whole idea is that they'll probably try to create some more technology. Like Cisco said, it worked the way it was supposed to work. It's just that they didn't account for all the Thinker's different abilities working in conjunction. Like if he hadn't had Kilgore's powers, it would have totally worked. So I'll explain why that is in just a second. It's not quite as complicated as you think. They're just trying to like point Barry in a specific direction with the way he fights the Thinker this season. Number 5, Barry pushing the Fiddler too hard in training, causing her to bail, which sort of leads to her eventually getting her powers taken. If you're wondering why they wrote Barry this way, like it felt relatively believable that he would really want to save her and just try to push her a little too hard. The real reason was because of that Iris conversation that he had after she left, where she was like, maybe there's another way to fight DeVoe. And what I think they were using that scene for was to tease that they're going to use Marlize, the Thinker's wife, to fight the Thinker. Like the alternate way, instead of trying to run up and punch the Thinker in the face, you use the Thinker's wife. Because they had that really big fight during the episode, the Thinker had to straight up roofie her in order to get her to go along with the plan. So the actress in real life also corroborated that. Like she's like definitely not down with what the Thinker is doing. Like he's going full comic book villain. Eventually he'll push her too far and that'll be Team Flash's opportunity to help get her on their side. Like help us rescue your husband. Like they always want to humanize all the villains on this TV show, give you their perspective. The Thinker's wife only cares about her husband, and right now, the person that we're looking at is not her husband. It's like this crazy comic book amalgam of 7 different characters all jammed into one. Number 4, of course, Savitar's cerebral inhibitor totally doesn't work the way they expect it to. Although, like I said, Cisco mentioned it worked the way it was supposed to. It's just that the Thinker has too many abilities to counter the effects. But like we've been talking about this season, you think a couple chess moves ahead. Of course, the Thinker's body is degenerating faster. She'll need elongated man's body, Barry's body eventually. What better way to speed that up than to have her take the rest of these bus metas? So I think obviously we're expecting the Thinker to take the abilities of these other 3 metas that we haven't seen yet. Barry and Team Flash will try to save them, they'll be unsuccessful, and ultimately Barry will get taken himself and there'll be some crazy twist in how they defeat the Thinker, but it will only be after Barry has also become one with the Thinker. Like a lot of people keep making that We Are the Flash joke. There's a moment coming with an Iris episode, which I think is specifically what they were using that for. Think about it this way. The Thinker takes Barry's mind and says, we are the Flash. Because now the Thinker will have become the Flash. So I think that's really what the We Are the Flash is building towards, even though this Iris moment where she becomes a speedster is part of that too. The big number 3, though, is that while they get their asses handed to them, they find out about the pocket dimension that the Thinker has been using this whole time. I wondered how they were going to explain that special space. I knew it would be a little bit different from reality because of the way it functions, but it's also sort of a tee-up for the concept of flash time, like them moving at super speed through a slightly alternate dimension because they're speedsters. They have access to the Speed Force. It sort of bends the laws of physics in a way that you wouldn't normally think about because of the way dark matter works. Number 2, Barry becomes a private detective. Like I said, the big thing with this is just seeing how long it sticks. I think if people really like it, then Barry will continue to be a private detective, but a lot of that has to do with whether or not Elongated Man sticks around for Season 5. So just open up a tab in Chrome, we'll check back at the end of the season and see if the producers say anything about that. But number 1, of course, the big one between Harrison Wells and Cecile, she gives him the idea to invite Jesse Quick, and that's why she's around for the crossover next week. But it doesn't explain why Jake Garrick is around. And a lot of you have been asking about Wally West. If you haven't been watching Legends, he is now with Rip Hunter. That's why he's not around for the Flash Family episode next week. So everybody, let me know what was your favorite part of the episode. We're going to Flash Family Crazy Town next week. It's going to be awesome. And then episode 16 is Run Iris Run. And then there's like really crazy stuff happening in episodes 17, 18, and 19. If you remember the way they've done it the last couple of seasons, that's really when you do crazy mythology stuff. But there's another episode that's titled Pay It Forward, which is coming up. I don't know which one it is, but I believe that that will also be a big Coffee Shop Girl episode. But congratulations to the latest giveaway winner, Nate Plays. Please private message me so I can get your contact details. There was a new round on this video. I'll name the winner when I post my trailer video tomorrow morning. So click here to get a preview for the actual Shazam costume that Zachary Levi is going to wear when he plays Billy Batson. And click here to learn all about the Deadpool TV series that's coming up in May. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.